Hey guys, Alex here and welcome to another live stream. This is going to be third one and last one from this series. First of all, sorry about my voice. I got a bit of a cold. It's not COVID, so don't worry about it. But sorry, it's just going to sound a little bit rough today. So as I said, this is the third one from this series and we are going to finish up with this one. And it's not going to be a live stream per se. I'm not live with you in this live stream, but I will be live in the comments. So if you have any questions, anything that you want to add during this live stream, make sure to leave your comments in a chat and I will gladly reply to you. Today we are streaming to YouTube and to my Behance page. YouTube channel is Alex on Design, Behance page is Web Donut. So if you're not already, head on over to my YouTube channel and make sure to subscribe. It's Alex on Design if you're watching this on Behance, and make sure to check out my website alexondesign.co to get all of my courses, to get all the practice files and my design products. Speaking of design products, Inception design system is the design system which I created over the past 6 months, even more than 6 months, and it was in the planning for more than 2 years. So this is how it looks like, and we were using it throughout this live stream series, throughout the previous 2 live streams, to create a design in Adobe Xd using this Inception design system. So once again, if you want to get it, inceptiondesignsystem.co is the link, and it will also be in the chat and in the video description if you're watching this after the fact and you're not live when this video launches. So you can see all of the elements which are included in this design system, and once again, it's going to be linked in the video description, no matter if you're watching this on YouTube or on my Behance page. Once again, sorry about my voice, but I just wanted to get this down for you guys and to prepare it and to get it done so we can move on to the next one, hopefully next week, when I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm planning maybe a mobile app or something like that because a lot of you guys have requested for me to do so. So let's jump inside the Adobe Xd, and this is where we left off the previous time. We created our design from Inception design system, and if you didn't watch the previous 2 live streams, let me walk you through it. So here we have colors on the left side, and we have character styles, and we have components which we created during our design, but Inception design system comes with all of these different components. So right here at the top are your atoms and molecules, which are, for example, buttons and different sorts of forms, inputs, stuff like that. Images that you can see right here, blobs, and so much more. Then right here we have flowcharts for desktop and mobile, and we also have these papers. And if I zoom in a little bit closer, you can see we have A4 landscape and portrait, and we have US letter landscape and portrait as well. For the flowcharts, we have all of these different components. So we have task flow elements and we have flowchart elements, and you can see how mobile and desktop flowcharts look like. So I used one of these papers and I created this. So if you watch the first live stream from the series, you can see that you can use all kinds of different elements right here in this paper. So any one of these, and if I select it and switch to layers panel, you can see that we have dot grid, we have phones, we have responsive, browser, and flowchart info. You can switch any one of these up, and then you can print these papers for later if you so choose. So what I did is I turned on dot grid and I created this. So if I bring this a little bit closer and camera zooms in, so this is the wireframe which I created in the first live stream from this series. So if you're interested, I'm going to leave the links to all the previous live streams from this particular series down in the description so you guys can check it out. Then I brought it into Adobe Xd. I simply snap a picture of it. Here it is. Because you guys are always complaining that you don't have scanners, so I didn't want to cheat this time. I wanted to use my phone, so simply snap a picture with your phone just to have it next to you, especially if you're working with your teammates, so you can easily share this design with them so they can give you feedback, for example, before you start designing. After that, in the first live stream, we created this using templates, and templates in this Inception design system are located right here in 3 different sizes, so desktop, tablet, and mobile, or large, medium, and small. And we have our grids right here. We have our guides. Everything is explained in that live stream. I don't want to bore you guys too much, especially those of you who already watched the previous two live streams. Then last week we created our design. I simply took all of these images from Envato Elements, and I'm going to leave the link to the collection down in the description of this video and in the chat if you want to check it out and get all of these assets. And let me quickly show you the folder and how it looks like. So we basically used all of these different images, different icons. We have all of these icons right here, and in this video we're going to include these JSON icons, which are actually animated icons which come as part of Inception design system. So if I zoom in right here, we have these icons, which are static icons, but you're also going to get animated version of all of these icons inside of Inception design system. You can simply drag and drop them inside. They come pre-animated, and there is a video all about it in my free course on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to leave the link to that free course in the description in the chat as well. So if you're interested, you can check it out and you can see all parts of Inception design system, what it does, and you can learn more about it. So in this video, as I said, we are going to focus strictly on animation. We're going to finish up this design because in the previous videos, if I launch my prototype really quickly just so that you can see what I'm talking about, we have all of these elements which are included inside of Inception design system in general. So we have this hover effect for the register button, for the buy a car, and we have this ghost button. So when I hover, you can see that we have that effect right there. So if I scroll all the way down, we don't have any effects on these cards. We don't have any effects right here. I'm going to include my animated icons right here in just a second. We don't have any effects right here, so perhaps maybe we can include something there. Nothing right here, and basically that's it. So in this video, we're going to animate all of the buttons. We're going to include these ones. Perhaps we're going to animate these cards, and maybe these drop downs. We're going to see in just a second what can we do with these. So yeah, let's get started. So once again, sorry for not being live, but I will be live with you guys in the chat. So if you have any questions, any comments, leave them down in the chat. So let's start with the easiest ones. Let's start with this button. So I'm going to simply select it. As you can see, we have main button fixed medium, but what I'm going to do, because this is the component from the Inception design system, is I'm actually going to ungroup it like so. Then I'm going to hit Control G to group it again, and I'm going to call it wide BTN, so wide button, like that. Hit Control K once again to create it into a component, like that. Then right here, I'm going to simply create hover state, call it hover, like so. Then with hover state selected, I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to include a drop shadow, maybe something like 5 and maybe 10, so something really nice and easy. For that drop shadow, let me open up my colors. I'm going to select my drop shadow, select this one, and use this royal color, so perhaps a bit darker blue, and I'm going to use something like 36%. Let me find myself so you can see it. So right here, 36%, press enter, there we go, and let's see, I think it looks just fine. So let's check it out, see if we got everything. Yep, that's it, that's all fine. White button, default state, check it out just to see if it works as it should. So let's see, we have our nice hover effect right here. If you think it's too dark, that's fine, you can check your settings, you can adjust them however you want to, but I'm just going to leave it for now. Now, because we have the same button right here, excuse me, we have the same button right here, but it's not a component. What I can do, because it just says see all cars, because we created this new component, wide button, and this is an existing component, I can simply drag and drop this onto this component, and it's going to replace it like so. So we have default state, we have hover state. So let's quickly check. Yep, we have a wide button. And then let me just go back, undo place component. What was it? Yeah, actually, let's go redo, because I didn't write any text inside. So instead of see all cars, what we're going to write right here is see all articles. Like so, I'm going to copy the text, jump into my hover state for this one, select it, instead of see all cars, see all articles. So the button is exactly the same, just this instance of our main component, which is called wide button, is going to change. So you can see all articles, see all cars, And if I switch this to hover state, see all articles stays, so that's fine. Let's now deal with this register now button. I'm going to do the same thing, so I'm going to open this up. Text main button fixed large. I'm going to ungroup it really quickly. Hit Control G once again, and I'm going to call this main btn. Main button, let's say small, or main button CTA, so call to action. Let's call it like that. Control K once again. Create it as a component. It gives me this to animate it here, so you can click right here to edit the main component, which is this one. And what I want to do for this one is locate this, click on it, select hover state, select my layer below. So control click will do just that. Right click, copy, go back to your default state, default component. Right here, so we have our main state. I'm going to click right here to add a hover state, call it hover. Enter inside, select my button, right click on it, paste appearance. So it's going to paste exactly the same appearance that we copied from the previous button, but it's going to keep the text like so. So I'm going to remove this one. So simply delete it. And you can always do that with whichever component you want. So for example, let's say I'm going to select this one, jump inside this second row, select this last one, click right here, and it's going to show me and point me to the original component if it is inside of this same artboard. If it's not, it's going to place it outside, so you can simply edit it there. And it's the same story for the entire Inception design system. Make sure to always edit main components before you proceed to all of these child components. So what we did for this button, let's check it out. Hit Control Enter, like so, go all the way down. We have this nice hover effect, and of course you can adjust the duration if you jump inside the prototype mode, and then you can remove the duration if you want instant hover effect, but I don't want to do that. I want my users to understand what they have selected. So right here, what we can do, because I don't want to change too much, what I can do is I can create these different block cards. So I can call it block card 1, block card 2, block cards, come on, let's see, block card 3, and finally block card 4. So I'm going to basically create 4 different components for this one. You don't have to do that, and I would recommend for you to create just one, but I'm just a bit lazy in this video, and I don't want to copy and paste all of these elements once again and lose too much of the time, because you can do that in the previous video. You can watch what I did and how I created these. So as I said, I'm simply going to create components from each one of these, and you're going to see it's going to be super simple for the hover effect. Basically, I just want to create this whole section for the card to be hover state. So let's select the first one, click right here, hover state, call it hover. I'm going to select this text so I don't have to write it again all the time. In this one, what I'm going to do is simply enlarge my image like so, like that. And basically that's it. That's the only change which I want to create. So basically you can do what I'm doing right here for the first card, and then you can jump inside and, you know, adjust all of these images separately. But for now, I just want to do something like this. So nothing too major, nothing too dramatic. As I said, I just want to create a nice hover effect so that my users know what they are doing and where they are hovering. I don't know why my music went out, so let me bring it back really quickly and lower it down to something like this. I think that's fine. So where we are, hover, let's select this image, like so. And finally, let's do the same for this one, but let's bring this to our default state. Check this one, it's at default, this one is at default. So let's just quickly create this last one, new hover state, hover. Inside of the hover, just enlarge our images, like so. So nothing too major, as I said. This is just a small detail to let your users know that they actually did something. So let's quickly select that. You can see it works. Everything works as it should. And there you go. So when they click that image, it's going to take them to that blog post, and they're going to be able to explore it. So now this is done. This is done. As you can see, we are moving quite quickly. What I want to do next is actually include my animated icons right here inside of my testimonial. So I have my images, so I have my arrows left and right here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer. And if I bring back my folder, I have these two, so right arrow and left arrow. I'm going to simply bring them in like so, and I'm going to drop them right around here. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is basically bring them in place, and I'm going to lower them down in size a bit. And before I do, perhaps I should bring in my grid. So I'm going to select my square grid like so, and where we are right and left. So let's align them like this, and let's quickly scale them to something like this. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to position them as good as I can. And I can also bring my columns back like so, so that I can perfectly align them like this. There we go. Left, we can move it a little bit, so I can position it right around here, for example, because it's a bit bigger, to something like this. Right is here, left is here, so perhaps I can even give it a bit more space to roughly around here. Then, because I don't need these two anymore, I'm simply going to get rid of them and delete them. There we go. Perhaps bring it a little bit closer like this. There we go. So there are 5 pixels distance between each other. Let's hide the columns like so, and let's click on our artboard by myself just so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm simply going to get rid of this square like so. And now let's go back to it. I'm going to select it, and first of all we have to create them as components. So for this first one, right arrow, let's position it like this. So left arrow, I'm going to create a component. Once again, Control K on this one. So what I'm going to do on the default state is jump inside of it, click, and as you can see, I don't have anything, so it's just static. It's the same on this one right here, so it's just static, nothing happens. So when I click right here, and when I click hover, create my hover state like so. Inside of my animation, what I want to do is turn on play automatically, and I'm going to loop it. So as long as you're keeping your mouse pointer on this icon, it's going to loop and it's going to animate. Once again, these icons come with Inception design system, so if you want to get them, now you know how you can adjust them, how you can work with them. So for this one as well, we're going to create a hover state like so. Inside of the hover state, select this one, play automatically, loop playback. So once again, as long as you keep your mouse pointer on it, it's going to loop it. So let's quickly preview, see what we have created. So there it is right here. And when I hover, you can see the animation. So as long as I keep my mouse pointer on this icon, it's going to loop, it's going to animate. So you can see how this one looks like. There you go. They work just fine. So you can use these icons, and there is a dedicated video inside of that course on my YouTube channel all about Inception design system. How do you use these icons? How do you change their speed? How do you change their colors? How do you change their size if you want to? So you can check it out to learn more and to see more about which icons are included and how many of them are there. So what I can do is create a hover right here, but I'm not going to do so. And I can create a slider, but once again, I'm not going to waste the time because the content is going to be exactly the same, just image and the text is going to be a little bit different, but you get the gist of it. Basically, create 2 or 3 copies. Once you actually click on this arrow, it's going to slide left and right, and I have plenty of tutorials on my channel. Make sure to check it out if you want to learn more about how to create these sliders, for example. So 2 big things that we have, actually 3, is the entry animation, which we are going to create because we're already 22 minutes in. We have these drop downs, which are going to basically place dummy text on, and we are going to have these cards at the end. So let's deal with the cards first, then I'm going to create these ones, and finally for the entry animation we are going to do something fun there. So as we saw previously, we have our main component right here. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to switch these two rows, because this is our main component and it's just going to be a bit simpler for us to do so. So just replace them because they are in a stack. They simply organize themselves. 24 is the distance between this row and this bottom row, as you can see. So right here on this first one, because this is our main component, you can see that because the diamond is filled in, and if I select this one, you can see it right here, but right here as well, it's hollowed out with the dot. That means it's the child component of this main component. So what I'm going to do right here is basically create a hover state like I did with all of these ones. So hover, like so. But I'm going to switch to the default state because right here what I'm going to do is where my image is, like so. What I can do is basically select this image large, Control C, place it in outside, like so. I'm going to position it right around here, but wait a second, before we do, let's do it once again. So undo, switch to my layers panel, undo, because these elements are in a stack actually. So let's delete it, like so. Let's check out everything is fine. Okay, let's try that again. So what I'm going to do here is Control D because image is not in a stack, like so. I'm going to position one element on top. Then I'm going to select one of these colors. For example, maybe I can choose my charcoal, maybe. Let's see. And I can lower down the opacity to something like 40%, something like that. I think that works just fine. And right here, what I'm going to do is drop in on the left, atoms and molecules, icons. And what I want to do is find my icon. So let's see, perhaps we can use an arrow. It's just simpler. So maybe right arrow icon can jump inside. I can place it. There we go. And instead of this color, I can select a white color, apply border color. There we go. Back to the layers panel, select these two. Make sure it's in the center, like so. There we go. And perhaps I can bring this a bit closer, and you can see because this is a component and all of these are instances, because we are editing main component, all of the changes are happening in real time with all instances. And that's the beauty of this design system, because if you added something right here, for example, or if you change the main color, or if you switch right here to change the character styles and the text, it's going to automatically apply throughout this design system. And that's the whole beauty of it. That's the whole point of it, and I love doing my work in the Inception design system for that. Not just because I created it, but it just makes my life so much easier and my work so much faster than ever before. What I'm going to do right here is rename this to, for example, overlay color, maybe something like that. So later on, when you are exporting these layers for your developers, you know what you're actually exporting. So what we can do right here is include that animated icon if we want. Perhaps that's going to be a bit more fun, but I'm actually not. I'm just going to include it right here. So icon right, overlay color, that's fine. It didn't change any of the images, that's great. So what we are going to do for this one, perhaps maybe we can put a background here or something like that. But for now, I think, yeah, maybe we should actually put a background. So I'm actually going to create a circle, something like that. 24 with 24, I think it's going to be too small. Yep. So let's go 40 by 40. Can do that, yes, without any border. Let's apply that same color, charcoal. There we go. And I'm going to basically select these two, make sure they are in the center, and so you guys can see what I'm doing. Position it here. You can see how all of them are snapping, and now when I position it here, you can see how much better that looks like. But actually, because we have this new orange color, maybe we can put it right here. Just select it, and there you go. I like this one much better because it just screams in your face, click me, and I think that's quite good, and it's on the brand. So let's rename that to circle, or let's say icon circle, like that. I think that's good. There you go. Now, the last thing which is left for us to animate, and I still don't love how this overlay color looks like. So perhaps if I hit 5 for 50 or 60. Yeah, yeah, let's go with 60. So in this case, what we're going to do, because remember, this is our default state and we have a hover state. So right here, what I'm going to do is select these three and perhaps, let's actually do it like this. So I'm going to group these two, call it icon. If it wants to rename, because XD has this bug from time to time. Icon, circle, like that. And what we're going to do right here is in this default state, maybe we can nudge it down a little bit. So shift 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe. Then I'm going to lower down the opacity all the way down, and to remember, my overlay color is at 60%. You can see it right here. So I'm going to drop it all the way down to 0, like so. Then I'm going to switch my car card back to my hover state, like so. Jump inside my image, bump up my overlay color to 60, like it was. There we go. And my icon circle, I'm going to bring it to 100 and basically place it in the center, like so. There we go. Car card, drop it. And now let me select one of them just to test out. So this is the third one, hover. It works, but it works with this content. So what we actually have to do is select all of our layers for each hover state and then drop them instead of these elements. So I'm going to show you that in just a second. So let's go with this first one. So default state, what I'm going to do is choose the content. So let's choose all of it, like so. Jump inside our hover state, right there. Let's see, paste it. I'm going to make a mess of it, so we are going to remove these two. Like so, hit delete. It's going to nudge it up. And basically what I want to do is take this image, hit Ctrl X to cut it, remove this image, like so. Jump in right here, hit Ctrl X inside. And now just instead of the Golf, I want to position this car inside. So let's see, it didn't paste it inside for some reason. So Ctrl X once again, go inside of the image, Ctrl X. There we go, it should work now. It does. Just drop it behind our Golf. Click right there. There we go. So sadly, we have to do this for all of our images. So instead of boring you too much, I'm going to do it with just this one, so we don't waste too much time. So I'm going to select all my content, Ctrl C, jump to my hover state, click inside, select to the top, Ctrl V, like so. It should paste in. Running a bit slower obviously, so let's go with default state. Once again, select all of our content, Ctrl C. Then let's go back to the hover state. Try that again. There we go. So I'm going to get rid of these elements at the bottom, because once again, remember, this is created in a stack. That's why it's positioning all of these elements like so. So basically, the only thing which is mandatory here is to take our Skoda, this car, hit Ctrl X, then remove this image. Content is going to stack nicely once again. Jump inside of this one, Ctrl V, position it where the Golf is, replace it, remove the Golf. There we go. Now we have our Skoda. Obviously in code this is not going to be like so. You can create your component, you can then adjust it, and before we move on any further, let's quickly preview what we created. So if I go right here, select it, it looks really nice. Yeah, I like how that looks like. And of course, you can then go a bit further. Instead of the static icon, you can include that same icon which you just animated. You just have to go to Lodifile's website, change its color to white so it works in this case. So when you hover once again, it's going to play that animation that we saw at the bottom. So all of them work. It's just they are showing these cars. So actually, because I'm a bit of a freak when it comes to these things, let's actually go ahead and change it. So let me hide this one so it doesn't bother you anymore. So let's go right here, and I'm going to select all of this. Hover, click inside, Control V. Should work. There we go. Select this one. For some reason it goes a bit slower on me sometimes, but we are going to power through. Control X, remove it, jump inside of here, Control V, place it inside, replace it with the Golf, remove the Golf. There we go. Switch back to default state, click right here, do the same. So I would really like for Xd to give us this option later in the future, to actually be able to choose which information do you want from each component. So for example, in this case, yes, I just want to keep the settings, but I want to replace my image, for example. So that way it's going to be much faster for you to create these elements than if you have to do what I'm just doing right now. So copy and paste all of them and position them, organize them in the same way. So, oh, sorry. So you can see sometimes these errors can pop up. So let's click there, remove our Golf. There we go. Switch to default state. Works fine. And finally, let's deal with this last one. Before we move on to that drop down effect, switch to hover state. There we go. Click right here. Jump inside. There we go. Remove our elements. I'm going to select my Range Rover image. Remove this one. Jump inside of here. Paste it in. Position it. Replace it with the Golf. And there we go. Now let's switch it to default state. Let's check out if they work once again. Position them right here. So it works just fine. And as I said, the nice touch for it would be to include that animated icon. It's not really necessary, but just check it out. It's just going to bring a bit more life to your design, so I think it looks just nice. So we created all of these different elements and animations in 36 minutes. So let's now tackle perhaps the hardest of them all. So as I said, I'm going to include a dummy content right here, but what you can do is take a real content and then just simply drag and drop the text file, for example, inside of this element. So what we have right here, as you can see, is we have all of these drop down elements, which are basically our components. So I'm going to select, let's see where it is, selectors, like so. So because these are our main components, basically, I'm going to ungroup them and create separate components. So let's select this, what we have inside. I'm going to ungroup it like so. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup all of them. Let's actually do it like this. I'm going to select, right click. Xd is running a bit slower on me today. Ungroup. Let's check, let's see what's the issue. Even though I'm just recording this live stream, so I'm not actually live with you guys per se, it still takes up all of my memory and all my system memory, so sometimes it's just running a bit slower. So what we're going to do right here is I'm going to jump on this first one. You can see we have this text with icon, so I'm just going to select my text, hit Ctrl C, like so, paste it outside, right there. We try to position it roughly around here. So where we are, 23, let's go with, I don't know, 20, for example, or no, 24, because we are on the 8 pixel grid, like so. So I'm going to place this right here, and I'm going to do the same for all of these at the same time. So I'm going to select this one, Control C, Control V. So make sure to place that right here, and let's go with 24. Like so. Price range, same story. Just copy it, and of course you can do this with the component, but I don't want to waste too much time, and that's basically the approach which I just show you with these components for the cars below. So I'm going to do this the other way around. So Control V, and in just a second we are going to have all of them lined up like this. So what I can do is create a group right here and call it fuel. Try that again. Fuel types, maybe. This is going to be in a group called price range, like this. Control G to put this in a group. This is going to be locations, and this is going to be brands, like so. So what we can do right here is for each of them we can create a stack, and we're going to create this stack, so vertical stack. Same for the locations. So put it in a stack like this. Same for the price ranges. Stack like this, and same for the fuel types. So let's go into select that like so, fuel types. And what I'm going to do is basically create, let's say, 4 copies, 1, 2, 3, 4. And for this stack, let's go, for example, with 16 like this. So here we're going to have, let's say, petrol. Second one is going to be diesel. Third one can be, for example, hybrid. And final one can be electric. So then for the price range, we can do the same. So I'm going to basically create, let's say, 4 copies again. Like that. Select the price range folder because we are in a stack. Make sure the stack is at 16, like so. So price range, let's go with like so. So 2K to, I don't know, 10K. Then I'm going to do the same right here. So instead of 10K, we can go to 20K, like this. And then 20K to 50K. And finally, this can be, let's say, 50K plus, like this. So anything above $50,000 can work just fine. So location, because we put, I don't know, London and stuff like that, so perhaps we can put, let's say this is European, so London. Then here it can say Paris. here it can be Madrid and Budapest, for example. Like so. Locations, close them up like so. So let's see, 16, like this. And let's do a fun experiment. So for brands, so let's open up this one. So what I can do is basically take up all of these. So let's select them like so. I'm going to close this. So from here, what I can do is create a few copies, and I can maybe open up the new file, new text document, and I'm going to show you how it looks like in just a second. So I'm going to paste what I just put inside. Just remove this because these are the groups where all of these companies belong. And of course, when you're creating actual website, the recommendation obviously is to use real names that the brand that you're working for is going to actually use. So let's go with 16. And you're going to notice I'm not using the repeat grid function, which is going to be much faster than doing this, but I'm going to stick with the stack because we were using the stack throughout this. So Audi, and let's just put two more. So Bentley, like this, and finally what we have is BMW, just for the fun of it. Like so, we are at 16. There you go. So now comes the time where we actually have to animate these. So we have our selector, which is right here. So what we can do is, let's see, selector. I'm going to find my selector right here just to see where what is the actual height for it. So here it is. So height is auto, but this default height, let me select this one, is 64. So I just needed that information really quickly. So 64 is what we are going to go for default size. So when we select our selectors right here, what we can do actually is we can do this two ways. We can create a mask and then ungroup all of this with the mask, which is maybe the better solution, but I'm actually going to try this because this selector is going to expand down. So let's try with one of them, and then we are going to try separate ones. So brands, for these brands I'm going to try to lower this down in opacity, try to select this and see if it's going to work. So 64, and this was 277, I believe. No, 199. Okay, so let's check it out. 271. Okay, so 64, like this. Brands, we are going to hide them like so. 64. There we go. Okay, so it works. And now let's select it. Let's see. It doesn't work, I think. Actually, it does. But I don't know why they're not in the center. 1126. It should be in the center right here. Let me actually bring my grid back. That's going to solve this issue. Because with my grid, I'll be able to place it exactly as I want it. Like this, because I wanted to snap to this position where it is, to this line, like so. There we go. So 48 actually should be its original height. So let's go like this. So let's call these components our new names. So let me actually get rid of some of this information right here. So this first one, we can call it brand selector, for example. Wait a second, something happened. Yeah, it just moved it right here. So for this first one, what I'm going to do is call it brand selector. Like that, hit Control K, and we're going to try on this one, see what it does. So new state, clicked, like that. And inside of the clicked state, we're going to bring our brands back, like so, and use our selector background, move it right around here. So let's say it's 11 from the bottom, just going to snap right here. Yeah, that works fine. And inside of this one, text with icon, we are going to actually rotate our icon. So jump in right here and hold the shift key until it rotates like so. So it's basically minus 180 if you want to test that out. So I'm going to now animate them. Let's first close this one, go back to our default state. What I'm going to do is actually choose a big tapping point. So actually that can be this text. So let's go back to the default state like so. Let's go to the prototype mode, select our text like so, click on it. Let's see, tap, auto animate. Destination should be clicked state, is out 0.3 seconds. I think that should work fine. So let's preview it, see how it looks like. So here we have our drop down. So actually we have to animate it back. So let's go with clicked state. I'm going to select my text once again. Click on it, auto animate, destination default state is out 0.3, so it works just fine. Here we are in clicked state. So perhaps it should be a bit slower because this is just a bit too fast. So I'm going to go right here, go to my default state like so, and then choose this one. 0.6 should work. Ease in out, select it, go to the clicked state once again, select this one like so, or you can just select the handle, ease in out 0.6, transition back to our default state like so, and let's check it out and see how it looks like. So when I click right here, you can now see that the animation is much smoother. Everything works much better and much easier. So I think this one looks much better than it was. We are already at 50 minutes. So I'm going to try to do this a bit quicker. So let's check this out. Selector. We are going to call it location. Selector. This is going to be price. And finally, this was what? Fuel type. So fuel. Fuel selector. There we go. I'm going to close all of these down. So let's just remind ourselves, I think it was 48, if I'm not mistaken. For the height, yes, it was. That's great. So I'm going to turn all of these into new components, separate components, and basically we're going to do the same animation for them. So let's go with Control K on these ones. It doesn't matter that they are open. As you saw, it's just going to be an easy fix like that. So let's use this option, use this option, there we go, like so. It does work a bit slower, so I don't know what's going on with this, but I should definitely change my browser because on the first live stream Google Chrome was just killing me, and it's doing the same thing today, I'm afraid. So let's try it like this, Control K. See if it works like that. It does finally. So let's go right here to this one, default state. So once again, what we can do is select these ones for all of them. So select this one, lower it down in opacity to 0. Let's go with locations, lower it down in opacity, price range, lower down in opacity, fuel types, come on, lower it down in opacity, there we go. So now for this one, what I can do is simply lower all of them to 48, like this. Then select this one, come down to 48, like this. And do the same for this one, come down to 48, like this, there we go. Now we can create separate component states for these ones. Once again, opened for all of them. So for this one, let's click new state and let's call it opened. So click on this one, do the same. And click on this one, do the same. After this one, we are just going to animate the intro animation. So when we actually land on this page, it's going to be really fast. So we should be on our way to do so. So for the opened, basically it's the same story. So I'm going to make sure that all of these are selected on opened states, which they are. This is. So basically just bring the text back, select it, jump to opacity, bring it back, selector input, and I think we were at 11, but basically you can round it up if you so choose. So let's say 14, for example, works just fine. Select this one and let's actually select the text first, bring the text back, select the selector, take it to roughly around here, so 14 once again, which is fine, and select our field types, bring the opacity back, selector, take it right around here, so 14, that's fine. And finally, what's left for us to do is to select our image. So I'm going to jump in right here, sorry, not image, but the icon rather, and I'm going to simply type in right here, not this icon, but arrow down, minus 180. Let's see if it works. It does. Select the same one right here, arrow down, click on the icon itself, minus 180. It should work. Hopefully. No. Okay, so let's rotate it like this. Like so. And finally, let's do the same for this third one. So select this one, select the arrow down, jump inside and rotate it like this, so minus 180. And there we go. Basically all of these are done. So now the last thing for me to do is to animate them like I did for this first one. So what I can do, instead of selecting this one, I can select the entire thing, but I'm not going to, because I want to create my tapping point, because if I don't, then they can basically interact in a different way, and I don't want to do that. I want to animate them like I should. So they should be animated like the first one. So on the default state, you can make sure to open all of them like so. To do the same thing like we did previously. So like that, text with icon, I can go to prototype for all of them. Make sure to click auto animate. I'm going to go to open. It's going to keep the same animations, text with icon, so same story, but transition like so, click. And basically the only thing you have to do right here is to choose your destination. So let's try that again. Just adjust this a little bit right here so I can see what I'm doing. So right here, destination is opened. It's going to keep the same settings as I said. Here we have selected our fuel type, click on it, and it's going to quickly enter the animation. Let's go with opened. There we go. And for these ones, you can simply switch back to the default state and go back to opened, sorry. select this one. When I have multiple of these, I like to do this at once because it's just much faster than to open one, create one, and then go another, because the animation is exactly the same basically. So fuel selector, price selector, location selector, open all of these once again. We're going to use the same tapping points as I mentioned. So we have text with icon. I'm going to select that, click on it, go to default state, select this text with icon, click on it, go to our default state, select this text with icon, come on, and go to the default state. There we go. Close all of them. Let's check the music, everything works fine. So basically what I want to do right here is exactly the same like with the first one. I just want to go to the default state on all of them, click on this one, go to my default state, click on this one, come on, default state, switch back to my design panel, hit Control Enter or Command Enter on the Mac, and let's see what we have created. So when I click right here, you can see it opens straight away. It shows all of them, which is great. Field type, and then of course you can dive more deeply. You can create another component state for each of these. For example, you can create hover states for each of these. I also created tutorials on my channel about that. Finally, the last animation I want to create for this live stream, and we can wrap it up there, is the entry animation for this top part. So for our hero section, let's just check it out and see. So all of this information that you saw, including our selectors, are in the hero section. So what I want to do right there is actually quite simple. I want to make a duplicate of this entire page, like so. So Control D, it's going to duplicate it, that's fine. So let's call it opener, opened, and car web design opener. Like so. So on this one, obviously we are going to adjust a few things here and there. So what I can do is click right here. Because we are in a hero group, we can position these even more. So I can move them outside. I can lower this down. And what I can do with this one is basically select my buttons, position them right around here. Somewhere around here, for example. I can select this text, maybe move it right here, and select this text, move it right here. I'm going to select my content because that's the entire folder. And I'm going to bring the opacity of it down. But before I do, I want to make sure to move it right around here. Position it there, like so. I can select my selectors, move them outside of my way right around here, because you can see this is the cutting point. I can lower them down, and I can lower this down as well in opacity. Now for this color, what we can do, because this is our hero background, I can lower it down in opacity as well, like so. And I can bring my car, let's just find it, somewhere around here maybe, for example, like so. And this blob, you can do a lot of the things with it, but I'm not going to too much. What I can do is basically adjust all of my points. So I can select my blob, double click inside, and I can do something like this. So I don't know, maybe here. But actually, because there are a lot of these, let's actually do something a little bit different. So I'm going to lower it down in size, like so, and lower down the opacity. So what we can do right here to animate these two is quite simple. So I'm going to select my entire artboard, like so. And I'm going to go to the prototype, click right here. Instead of tap, what we can use is time. Delay is going to be 1 second just for me to click on it, enlarge it, and show you guys, but you don't need to use the delay. Auto animate, ease in out, and the duration can be, let's say, 2 seconds actually. Also select 2 seconds. Like so. So let's test it out. Let's Control Enter on this one. And let's see how it looks like. So we had that delay. Sadly, delay is 12 seconds. I don't want to do that. I just want a delay of 1 second. Sorry. So let me close this window. So delay of just 1 second instead of 12. Check it out. And you can see how it looks like. Perhaps this was not a good option. Maybe instead of... Let's fire it up one more time. So let's close this. Delay should be actually 3 seconds, just so that I can show you. Like so. So there we go. I'm not the biggest fan of this orange thing in the background, but we can work on it, we can adjust it. So let's do just that. So here, inside of our design, like that, what I can do is find that blob. I can enlarge it like that, and I can jump all the way in, lower it down even more in size to a dot. So for example, like this. There we go. See it one by one. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's fine. What we can also do is bring this background all the way up, and I can actually tuck it in to the top like so. So instead of 8, we can go to 1 like this. There we go. It's going to bring it just a bit more visual interest. So let's test it out one more time, see what we have created. Yeah, I think that's much better. Still, the Tesla is a bit different because it still has that opacity, but I like how it looks like. Let's preview it one final time, but I think it's going to work just fine. Perhaps we can create a different mask for it right here, so you can jump from the mask into here if you don't want to have this overlay effect of the Tesla with its opacity dropped down. But finally, let's quickly preview what we have created in this entire session. So once again, we have these templates from the Inception design system templates. Then we have all of these components pre-animated already. Then we have these, which we have created, and they work just fine. We included these custom icons from Elgato Elements. We included all of these hover effects for these cards, which work just fine. Hover effects for our buttons, animated icons right here, so we did quite well. We did hover effects on these ones, and we are running just 1 hour and 5 minutes already, so I think we are just fine. And this was our footer, which is in dark mode. So there we go. That's what we have created during this live stream session using Inception Design System master file. Once again, if you are interested in Inception Design System, you can get it. Link is down below. Test it out, try it for yourself. It's going to change your workflow in Adobe Xd for good. It sure did with mine. As I said, it took me over 6 months to create it, and it took me more than 2 years of constant planning and changing things here and there to get to this point where I can actually create something like this and use it in my day-to-day work. Thank you so much for watching this live stream. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Alex on Design is the channel. And make sure to check out Inception Design System, inceptiondesignsystem.co. Links are in the description and in the chat as well. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.